A chilling tale of secrets. Beyond the grave, we all leave traces behind, whispers in empty rooms, shadows where no light falls, promises that outlast our final breath. But what happens when the dead refuse to stay silent? Mark and Sarah thought they were doing the right thing by inviting Gerald, Mark's grieving father, to house-sit their home and watch over their beloved dog, Cooper. But when a forgotten cosmetic item leads Sarah to check their home security feed, she witnesses something inexplicable. Gerald standing over Cooper with a pillow, his movements too deliberate to be innocent. As the couple rushes home, they unravel a horror far deeper than they imagined. A letter from beyond the grave, a confession of murder, and a vengeful spirit who has been waiting for justice. The dead don't forget. And some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Let us know where you are watching from and what time you found this video. One of the few vacations that Mark and his wife Sarah had diligently planned was a getaway from their stressful life that they much needed. In the beginning, they had the intention of leaving their cherished golden retriever, Cooper, with a different neighbor. In contrast, Mark was reminded of his father, Gerald, when the neighbor acknowledged that she did not have a strong affinity for dogs. In the 6 months that had passed after the death of Mark's mother, and you could as well. Following a brief period of doubt, Gerald gave his consent. It was a day filled with sun, beach, and the lovely lack of duty that they experienced on the first day of their tropical vacation. On the other hand, Sarah let out a gasp when she rummaged through her suitcase on the second day. "Mark, I completely forgot to bring my skincare serum. Can you imagine how my skin responds to the humidity in this room?" He laughed out loud. "We'll buy another one." "Not at all. It's a prescription. I really hope that it is still there on the counter in the bathroom." Sarah reached for her phone and launched the application that they use for home monitoring. The camera stream loaded, revealing their living room, which was completely silent. There was definitely nothing out of the norm. It was simply the gentle glow of evening light that was coming in through the drapes. And finally, motion. The sight of Gerald came into view, and Cooper was jogging joyfully behind him. A sigh of relief came over Sarah. On the other hand, something seemed odd. Gerald was not only wandering around the area. It was in the middle of the bedroom that he came to a halt, his stance straight. Unaware of the situation, Cooper sat at his feet, wagging his tail. As the video progressed, the atmosphere seemed to get more tense. Next, Gerald made a turn. Slowly, in fact, to a deliberate degree. He went forward and grabbed a pillow off the bed. Sarah couldn't catch her breath. "Mark, what is he doing?" The frowning Mark leaned in closer. Maybe Cooper knocked something over? On the other hand, Gerald was not clean up. It was excessively cautious of him to move. Intentionally too much. Alongside Cooper, he knelt down. Following that, the cushion hung in the air over the dog's head. Sarah's blood became ice cold. Oh my God, this is Mark. Suddenly, before either of them could respond, Gerald fluffed the pillow and put it back on the bed without any hesitation. The dog, Cooper, made a fun barking sound, and Gerald laughed while rubbing the dog's ears. When Sarah laughed at her own worry, she let out a quick exhalation. "I can't believe I just..." There was a problem with the camera. There was a 3-second period during which the screen displayed static. Following the completion of the feed, Gerald was no longer present in the room. Cooper remained still, his ears pricked up, and he stared toward the corner of the room where the camera was unable to view. Suddenly, from a location that was not visible on the screen, Sarah heard a sound that caused her skin to tingle. It was a whisper. There is no Gerald's voice. It is a woman's. There was a notice on Mark's phone, and it was a motion alert from their bedroom camera, which they had never set. The message said that, "You shouldn't have left him alone." As Sarah continued to contemplate the notice, her hands began to shake. "Mark, "We don't have a bedroom camera." Mark grabbed the phone, his face becoming pale as he did so. The message disappeared before he had the opportunity to read it. There was a chilly quiet that descended over them. Afterward, Cooper gave out a piercing, terrified bark that could be heard across the broadcast, and then the camera darkened. They made the first flight back to their house. Sarah's thoughts were racing for the whole of the journey back. Prior to their departure, had Gerald been behaving in an odd manner? She recalled the little details, such as how he would halt in the middle of a discussion, as if he were listening to someone else. The way that he would sometimes look around the home at the vacant corners. Mark disregarded it as a sign of sadness. But what about now? Both of their front doors were unlocked. It was disturbingly quiet inside the home. "Dad?" Mark beckoned as he entered the building. There is no response. Despite the fact that Cooper's leash was hanging on the hook, the dog was nowhere to be seen. As Sarah made her way into the bedroom, she could hear her heartbeat pounding in her ears. The door had a little of a gap under it. The door was opened by her. On the edge of the bed, Gerald sat, looking blankly at the wall. He was lost in thought. He was sitting with his hands neatly folded on his lap. On the other side of him, Cooper was lying completely motionless. Up to the point when the dog's tail touched the mattress in a feeble manner, Sarah's breath was seized, alive and well. "Dad?" Mark took 2 steps forward, but Gerald did not respond. After that, he gently moved his head in their direction. Both of his eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was a raspy, empty sound. "She's here." Over the course of the last 24 hours, Mark viewed the CCTV tape. For the most part, everything was as it should have been. Gerald fed Cooper, watched television, and moved about the house like a ghost. However, at precisely 3:17 in the morning, the camera in the living room began to flicker. Across the wall, a shadow shifted, but there was no obvious source. After that, in a whisper that was so weak that the microphone managed to pick it up, "Gerald, you promised." Almost immediately, Sarah recognized the man's voice. That person was Mark's mother. In the aftermath of it, Gerald remained silent. "She's angry," he simply kept saying over and over again. While Mark and Sarah were searching the home for clues, they were frantic. It was at that moment that Sarah discovered it, hidden away under the mattress in the guest room. Not a letter, using the handwriting of his parents. The very first line caused her blood to stop running. If you're reading this, Gerald finally did what he said he would. During the process of unfolding the fragile paper, Sarah's fingers were shaking. Even though the ink had faded, the words were apparent. They were written in the looping style that Mark's mother, Evelyn, had used before she passed away. "In the event that you are reading this, Gerald has at long last fulfilled his promise. A number of years ago, he made a promise to me that he would set me free in the event that I ever became a burden. At that time, I laughed it off. I was able to see the manner in which he gazed at me when the illness struck, not with your sorrow, with careful calculation. Because I was aware of it, I concealed it. He served me tea that had a harsh flavor on the night that I passed away. Heaving a sigh, I awoke, but it was already too late. Cooper, who was whimpering at the door, was the last thing that came to my mind. He was aware. Gerald is of the opinion that the dead do not communicate. On the other hand, I will. If I do that, he will be able to hear me." Sarah threw the letter over her shoulder, as if it had burnt her. Mark quickly grabbed it, his expression twisted in disbelief as he did so. "What is going on here? This? There is no way that Dad would." A floorboard made a creaking sound behind them. While standing in the doorway, Gerald's eyes, which were hollow, were riveted on the page. "You weren't supposed to find that." The hair on Cooper's body bristled as he let out a deep growl. Gerald remained still. Her torment was palpable. According to the physicians, she had a few months remaining. "I really simply sped it up," It seemed oddly serene to hear his voice. However, she would not remain absent. The vents began to be whispered as it began, making things move. Coming here was supposed to put an end to it, right? The contents of Sarah's stomach churned. So last night, with the pillow, I wasn't trying to hurt Cooper. The puppy caught Gerald's attention for a moment. I was attempting to shield him from harm. His body has been touched by her. She used to leave wet handprints on his fur, much as she did when she washed her hands in the sink before touching him. Mark retreated from the situation. I am sick of you. You are in need of assistance. Gerald's expression became more gloomy. Do you not believe what I say? Take note. There is a pause. Then drip it. Let it drip. Let it drip. In the bathroom was where the sound originated. There was no water in the sink. Sarah pushed herself to be observant. There was a fog on the mirror and scribbled in the condensation, in a wobbly script that was almost recognizable. You knew. It was a choked sound that Gerald let out. She is present. At this very moment, suddenly the door of the bedroom slammed shut behind them. In the corner of the room that was completely vacant, Cooper growled at something that none of them could see with his fangs bared. Then, the lights began to flicker, and Sarah was able to see her despite the strobe of darkness. A slender girl dressed in a flowered nightgown, with her wet hair sticking to her sunken cheeks, appeared before her. It's Evelyn, her eyes, which were milky, focused on Gerald. You promised you'd join me. The lights came back on with a jolt. With the exception of Gerald, who was now gripping his chest and breathing rapidly, the room was completely empty. The moment his father fell to the ground, Mark raced forward. Dad? His last words were barely audible, and Gerald's lips twitched as he spoke. She's pulling? He became completely limp. Sarah's flesh crawled when she heard the wail that Cooper let out. It was such a human sound. Then there was complete quiet. In the opinion of the coroner, it was a heart attack. Regarding the letter, Mark did not want to discuss anything. With regard to the rumors, referring to the manner in which Cooper would sometimes gaze at the vacant rocking rocker in the living room, while gently waving his tail around. However, Sarah was aware of it. There are certain pledges that cannot be violated, as well as those visitors who never really departed.